All right, I think I am live. Perfect. Looks like I'm live on Facebook, live on Instagram, and I'm going to be able to share my screen. I'm just going to let this flow for a little bit here, let some people hop on this lovely Wednesday afternoon-ish, heading into the evening. Hope you guys are having a great day. I came on today to chit chat about weight loss medications and weight loss surgeries, specifically weight loss injections, because it's a very widely talked about subject right now. I feel like it's being almost pushed on us, especially with ads. I don't know if you guys have noticed it on social media, if you watch TV at all, especially if you're watching football or any other like shows. Hey, Tanya, I feel like weight loss injections and medications are being pushed like crazy in ads. So I wanted to talk about it because not only are you seeing it, when you go to the doctors, not only are you seeing it on social media in ad form, you're also hearing from influencers about it. So I just wanted to talk about it because it's not going anywhere. Weight loss surgeries have been around for a long time. Weight loss medications have been around for a long time. They're always going to be around. They're going to come and go. And better to talk about the things that are true about these medications and these surgeries, talk about the things that are not so true about them, and also help you guys where I can and where we can, because we know some of you will choose that route. We have our own opinions on everything, of course, and we know that, and we believe that almost every single one of you can do this without either of those modalities. But we want to support you and help you be successful in the long term. For us, that's honestly the most important thing. I just want someone to be healthy in the long term. And there's a way to go about that that is not often shared or talked about, or maybe it is, but it's not explained how important it is. So I wanted to talk about that today. So let me share my screen. To share Canva, my PDF, or not my PDF, my presentation. I made a presentation for this. Like, who am I? All right, so let me make this a full screen. I think I might pull up, actually, I can pop between, cool, I can check comments and stuff still. All right, cool. You guys can see this? I think you can, but let me look on StreamYard. It looks like you can. Cool, cool, cool. So weight loss meds, weight loss surgeries. Let's talk a little bit about those things. Side note, if I seem distracted or I have to stop and pause, it's because I have a 9-month-old puppy that is pacing around and he's getting close to dinner time, and Diana might come in and woof too. So I might get distracted, but it's okay. This is what we do. We have animals. There's a child coming soon, and we're going to have to learn to work around distraction. So weight loss meds, weight loss surgeries. We're going to talk about the myths. We're going to talk about truths, how to prepare for long-term success. And again, talking points, those are the things we're going to talk about. There's a lot of common beliefs, I would say. I wouldn't necessarily call them myths, but maybe common beliefs people have. And I just kind of wanted to talk on those. And again, more than anything, I want to talk about your long-term success and how to be successful. This goes for anybody. So let's start with myths and common beliefs. So I feel like there's some myths or common beliefs around weight loss medications and especially weight loss surgeries, that these things can help your metabolism in a positive way. And I can go a little bit more in depth on this, but that's actually very much not true. If someone has a poor metabolism because they're severely under or overweight, at some point it may help their metabolism, but there's also going to be a point where it no longer is actually helping their metabolism. It can harm, but we'll talk about that further on. Some people, especially specific populations, PCOS, hypothyroidism, those who are older, especially older women, feel the need to use these medications or have surgery, and they feel like they cannot lose the weight otherwise. That is also a common belief, and it is also not true. There's a common belief that some people need to use these meds or have the surgery to be successful because they have a food addiction. While food addiction is quote unquote true, It's actually, you don't have to have surgery or take these medications to work around that. There's a lot more to food addiction than the physical aspect of what's happening. That's just one piece of the puzzle. Another myth or common belief is that these meds or surgeries will work for everybody. And you may be someone who's been through it. You may have been someone who's taken the medications, or maybe you had the surgery. And surgery, we'll talk about that, is more likely going to like force someone to see some progress. But medications don't work for everybody. And in fact, some people have some very negative side effects and they end up not being able to continue the medication. So they don't work for everybody. Another one, the results are always long term. I definitely typed that one up wrong. Are always long term. That's actually not true as well for either for medications or surgery. And you have to stay on the medications for life, which is also not true. There is a caveat to that, but it is actually not true. And it is a very commonly held belief. I'm just popping through to make sure there's no comments. All right, so this is just an introduction to the truth. So 90% of individuals who have weight loss surgery, they maintain 50% of their excessive weight loss after they have the surgery. Meaning, if they had excessive weight of 100 pounds and they lost 50 of the pounds, 90% of those individuals will maintain that 50-pound loss. Or maybe they lost 75 pounds after the surgery. Well, they may regain weight and they'll maintain a 50-pound loss. That's kind of what that percentage means. In terms of injectable medications, the individuals who took the injections, they maintained 5% of their weight loss after coming off of GLP-1 inhibitors, and that was within a 2-year period. And so that's actually 25 to, it was the percentage of people was actually 20 to 30%, but I was only able to put one number, so I went 25%. So that range varies on the individual. And of course, many of you probably already know, it has a lot to do with what they did while they were taking those medications and what they maintained after they were taking those medications. But in terms of success in keeping the weight off, if you come off of the injectable medications, the chance of you maintaining that weight loss is actually pretty low. And so, but there's a lot to that. So we'll talk about that. So let's talk about the truths about weight loss medications and surgeries. So injections, we already know, if you've watched the millions of commercials that are thrown at you, or if you probably know someone who's taking this, or multiple people who've taken these GLP-1 inhibitors. There's so many different ones out there now, to be honest. I can't even keep track of them. But the peptides, the GLP-1 inhibitors, they help you to suppress appetite and increase your feelings of fullness through inhibiting that GLP-1 or by some other mechanism with different types of medications. They also slow your digestion, which also makes you feel full for longer. Or in the case of surgery, though, it reduces your stomach size. They literally will either take out a part of your stomach, or they'll band a part of your stomach. They will put a sleeve on part of your stomach, whatever modality they use. There's different variations of that. And it essentially just makes it to where you can only fit so much food in your stomach, makes your stomach smaller, so you can only consume so many calories. Both methods, injections, medications, surgeries, they reduce your calorie intake by forcing a calorie deficit on you. So this just means that you are taking in less calories than your body is burning. That's all these things are doing. Obviously, medications change what's going on up in your brain a little bit with the hormones. But in terms of like what creates the weight loss, it's you are consuming less calories than you are taking in. There's no like magic behind it. It's not increasing your metabolism. It's not doing anything fancy. It's just shrinking your stomach or shrinking the amount of calories you are consuming on a day-to-day basis. Injections, they can also stimulate insulin production and reduce blood sugar. So this is why the medications, the injections have been widely used for type 2 diabetes. People who have type 2 diabetes, their body doesn't respond very well to insulin, and they will inject insulin into themselves. But by taking these GLP-1 inhibitors, they are releasing more insulin. And so it's a way to, again, kind of not inject the insulin, but have more insulin coming into their body to help regulate blood sugars. Sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. So what can injections do in terms of side effects? There's a lot of side effects, but I only listed like the main ones because I don't even want to get into the weeds of like other ones. So mainly GI disturbances, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and constipation, and pancreatitis. One of the main ones with GI disturbances is just the slowing down of your digestion. It'll obviously eventually lead to constipation, and that's also what can cause the nausea and vomiting. Gastroparesis is a main one that they've seen with the GI disturbances, and it just means that everything slows down, right? And pancreatitis. So, the pancreas is where your insulin's created. So, if you think about this medication stimulating the pancreas to release more insulin, for whatever reason, some individuals experience pancreatitis because their pancreas is agitated or inflamed from this medication. Maybe because it's like stimulating it too much. I don't know. I don't really know the details of that, but that is actually a common side effect of the injections. And then in terms of surgeries in the long term, there's a lot of short term effects of surgeries. Skipped over those because those are kind of expected. Long term, though, you can see bowel obstruction. You can see dumping syndrome, which is actually a very common one. Hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugars. Essentially, you are not consuming enough calories, or your blood sugars are too low because you can't get enough nutrition in as frequent as you need to. This is also a common one. Some people get hernias, gallstones, and then malnutrition, very common in surgeries. This is because we have a smaller stomach. We have to prioritize what's going in that stomach. And if we do not, we're high risk for malnutrition. And with dumping syndrome, if you have dumping syndrome going on, more than likely you're going to have malnutrition as well because things are just going right through you. So truths, injections and surgeries aid in weight loss, not just fat loss. This means that you will also lose a significant amount of muscle. It's not just fat that you lose. I think this is something that a lot of people get confused. They assume that they're losing a bunch of fat weight, but you are also going to lose muscle weight. In any calorie deficit, you're probably going to lose a little bit of muscle. The deeper the calorie deficit, which is what happens with these weight loss surgeries and medications, the more muscle you're going to lose. And I don't remember what the percentage was. I actually used to know this. I want to say it was like 30% muscle loss and the rest was fat loss, but I might be wrong on that. I did not double check that. I just remember it being a significant amount of muscle loss alongside of fat loss. And it was higher in some individuals, depending on what they were doing while embarking on these weight loss methods. So, some more truths about weight loss meds and surgeries. You have to stay on the weight loss injection meds for life if. So this can be true, but it's only if you don't work on the behaviors, the beliefs and habits that led you to where you currently are, your current state, right? There are things that you've done in your life or things that you have learned, you have acquired over time. And some of the things unknowingly, right, could have come from childhood or whatever. And you've dragged those habits into your adulthood and they've led you to where you are today. And if we don't address those things, doesn't matter what medications you take, it doesn't matter what surgery you do, they're going to resurface. So we have to address those things that are going on underneath the surface. This is something a lot of people ignore. They try to ignore and they try to slap a band-aid on it and do everything they can to see the long-term success. But ultimately, I would say over nutrition, over exercise, over everything, those have to change or else you will never be long-term. You'll never see long-term success. It literally is absolutely necessary for you to have long-term success to work on the inner stuff, the little uncomfortable things that we don't like to talk about. So same with surgery. In order to maintain long-term success, that inner work is required as well. It goes for both. We have to do the inner work in order to have that long-term success, or these behaviors, these sneaky little habits, these things that got us to where we are now, they are going to resurface. I promise you, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they resurface. Okay. Let me just make sure there's no comments. No comments. Cool. Let's move on. So, how to set yourself up to be successful if you're going to take these weight loss injections, if you're going to have these surgeries. Number one, and this is going to sound very woo-woo, and I'm a little mixture of both. I definitely believe in inner work, of course, and a lot of other woo-woo science, but actual science has shown what works and what doesn't work as well. So I like to have a blend of those. But number one, you have to change your identity. Who you are today will not be who you are if you lose the weight and you are successful long-term. That person has to be different than who you are today. And that is okay. It's okay. It'll be you. It'll just be a version of you that has a completely different identity. You're going to identify as someone who is healthy, as someone who is happy and is in control of their life and their lifestyle. And they actually enjoy the things that got them to where they are, right? To that goal physique or whatever it is you're chasing. That identity has to change. If it doesn't, you're going to battle that for the rest of your life. You're going to see this as something that you have to do, right? I have to do this. And it's going to become a chore and it's going to become boring and the motivation is going to drop off. You will not be able to continue that lifestyle if you do not change your identity. Okay. You got to let go all of the shame associated to who you are right now. Everything that got you up to now, you need to understand that person and you need to work on changing those habits and behaviors, but you are no longer that person. You are someone who is successful. You are someone who is in control of their decisions. And you are someone who can do anything they put their mind to. I know this sounds crazy, but you absolutely have to start digging into that belief and changing your identity. You cannot be the, I'm just going to use a name, Sally, who eats a bag of chips when she's stressed out. And that's just what she does. And that's what she's known for. You cannot be the Sally who's addicted to the Cheetos. Like people give you that as a gift jokingly. You can't be that person anymore. You can't be the person who loves to do binge watching TV all the time and you like give everyone the best reviews. You can't be that person anymore. And those are just two examples. There's so many things that you can attach to your identity that are holding you back. But you have to let those versions of you go. It's not to say you can't ever have Cheetos or you can't ever binge watch a TV show. You can do those things, but it just can't be something that you attach to who you are. Okay. How to set yourself up for success for faster and just understanding that faster progress doesn't equal better progress. And this is something as a society we seem to struggle a lot with, that we want things quick, right? Instant gratification. It's something we struggle with nonstop. And people praise one another when they have really fast project. Oh my gosh, how'd you do it? You're so disciplined. You're so motivated. I can't believe that. Yes and no. We want to celebrate the wins, but also faster does not equal better. Faster often means very dramatic measures are being taken, and we're not going to maintain that progress. We're not going to uphold those results forever. We're doing things that don't allow us to change long term, right? If you try to force a bunch of habits into someone who is trying to make this a lifestyle change, they're going to get overwhelmed. They're going to get bored. And when something stressful happens or something interrupts this new routine they've built that is way stacked with too many things and too many goals, something's going to fall off. Something's going to drop off. And then they're going to feel disappointed in themselves. And it creates this vicious cycle of feeling bad. And, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Maybe I am a failure. They start to question. And then they go backwards. And it's a constant yo-yoing. It's yo-yoing is exactly what it is. So faster doesn't equal better, nor does always focusing on the end goal. If you're always focused on that end goal, I'm just going to lose 100 pounds. I have to lose 100 pounds. That's it. And you don't focus on what's happening between the losing 1 pound to losing 100 pounds, you will not be successful long term. Again, you have to embrace the process of change. You have to become the person that loves this journey. And in the beginning, you're not going to love it. I'm not going to lie. In the beginning, it's going to feel like a chore. Or maybe you're super motivated and it's exciting in the beginning, but eventually you're going to get a point where it feels stagnant and the motivation drops off. Like that is normal, but finding the things you do enjoy in that journey, right? Well, this feels really good and I'm going to lean in heavy on this part of the journey. For me, that was always exercising or lifting. I loved it. I'm like, I'm going to lean in on this. When the nutrition changes or super annoying and I don't want to eat a freaking salad or I don't want to eat half a plate of veggies because I don't love vegetables, I'm going to lean in on the lifting part. I love that part. I'm going to do the veggies because I know it's providing nutrients to me. And over time, and allow myself to gradually change the eating habits. That was what worked for me, right? Gradually changing the things that are a little harder, but the things that you feel really good about, leaning hard into them and learning to love them and feeling the benefits that you're reaping from those things, right? How you feel when you lift, or how you feel when you maybe get a cardio exercise in, or how you feel when you eat, a day of whole foods. Like just really lean in on how you're feeling, and also lean in on where your mindset's at and how much it's changed from day one till now. That's something a lot of people skip over. They're like, oh, I just feel like I'm not making as much progress. Okay, well, how less often, I should say, are you binging compared to prior if you're someone who binges, right? Or how more consistent are you with maybe your exercises, or how many more steps are you getting on average compared to what you used to get? Like really focusing on those wins and the mindset changes that you've had along the way are huge. And so again, finding the things you love about the newfound identity, it's going to lead to long-term success rather than this feeling like a chore and something you have to do. Those two things are very important. And I know you guys probably were like, this is not what I thought she was going to talk about. I'm going to pause and just look at comments real quick. Habits matter. If you don't learn how to do it properly, you won't have lasting changes. Absolutely. And the long game is the short game. Absolutely. Learn the habits, find your routine that works with your life, and you won't be chasing the next best diet. No more of the yo-yo if you truly change. 100%, 100% that. If you are always looking for like the next best thing, I promise you there's no next best thing. It's just another yo-yo dieting ploy. That's all it is. But if you do the inner work and you take the long route, you will, I promise you'll have the long-term success. And if you don't have crazy, wild, dramatic changes in a short period of time, it's okay, because what's happened on the inside is a much stronger foundation than what you have if you were to just jump in headfirst into some crazy crash diet. So build your foundation and get really strong on it so it's unshakable when the storm blows through, the storm of life. You know life is going to happen. There's going to be something that knocks you on your butt unexpectedly, and you're like, whoa, what do I do in this situation? You will have a foundation that you can lean in on, and all the little extra stuff that maybe was like it was something you added onto those goals, those things can fall off for a bit. That's okay. But you have a strong foundation, and those unshakable things you will probably be more likely to maintain in that stormy weather time of your life. Like that is an absolute truth. Or you will, maybe some of those things won't be as solid as they were, but at least there'll be something left there, and you can build back upon that instead of just everything getting wiped out like it was a category 5 hurricane and now you have to start over, right? So anyways, me and my analogies, they get a little crazy, so you got to watch out for me. Okay, so some more tips to be successful. These are really important. Again, I'm talking about the things that nobody wants to talk about. These are the things people push down and avoid. They don't want to do this work because it's kind of like, it doesn't seem important, right? It makes sense to move your body. It makes sense to eat right in order to get the results you want to. But that's not what, yes, that's part of what got you to where you are. But why did you do the things you did? Where did this stem from? It came from somewhere. And you have to address that, because if you don't address that, it is going to come back. So one of the biggest things I think that most people ignore is learning how to cope with your stressors and your emotions. What you do when you are stressed, what you do with your emotions, I guarantee are influencing your behaviors and your habits, especially around eating, around movement and exercise, and around sleeping, around your water consumption and or caffeine consumption, right? If you don't know how to cope with stress or reduce stress in your life, you don't know how to allow yourself to feel emotions, and you shove them down with unhealthy coping mechanisms like eating a row of Oreos. That's something I would do in the past. I'm a stress eater. I was a stress eater through and through. That was where I got my stress relief, was from consuming calories. Or I went to the other end of the spectrum and over exercise, right? There was no middle for me for a while there. Learn how to cope with those things, or else they will continue to crop up and take it down with you. You can lose 100 pounds, but if you don't know how to cope with your stress, you don't know how to let yourself feel emotions, and you lean back into those things that got you where you were in the first place, the weight's going to come back on. It doesn't matter what you did with surgery. It doesn't matter if you took the injections. It will happen. So coping with your stressors and emotions. No longer, like I said, you lean in on your previous methods. You're going to feel your feelings. You're not going to shove them down. You're not going to distract with food, TV, or insert any other behavior that's not good for you. You're going to add in some stress reduction techniques. Again, this sounds a little woo-woo, but do not bash it. So many people are like, they take pride in how much stress is in their life and how much stress they can manage. And while stress is great, it helps to challenge us and grow us. And we need a degree of it in our life in order to continue to grow and evolve as humans. There is an amount of stress that is too much, and oftentimes we put it on ourselves. There is an amount that's too much. That stress cup overflows and it spills into every area of our life. And mental health, you guys know, in this country is not so great. And it has a lot to do with coping mechanisms, stressors being high. Some of you guys, I would say a good stress reduction technique that I didn't list would be like staying off of social media or taking social media breaks, not watching the news and unfollowing those like really polarizing accounts that you might follow. That would be an immediate stress reducer. Taking those things out of your life. But meditation, these are like more things that you can do for yourself. Meditation, and it doesn't have to be like 20, 30 minutes or long. You don't have to be like that person sitting on the pillow forever meditating. No, you can do this for like a couple minutes. You can sit at your desk. I've heard of different ways of doing it, and just you could focus on something. Now, normally you would focus on your breath, but you could do something like they say, I've heard rubbing your fingers together and feeling the grooves of your finger rub together and just focus on that feeling. You could pet your dog or your cat. Sometimes people will like just really observe their child while they're with their child. Like practicing that meditation and mindfulness is a huge stress reducer for individuals. Taking walks outside, go outside, just get outside and get some fresh air. Huge stress reducer. Deep breathing, and you can do different methods. There's like the 3-3-3, 4-4-4 method, 5-5-5, where you inhale for the amount of seconds, hold for the amount of seconds, and exhale for the amount of seconds. I think 5-5-5 is like which might be hard for you if you've never done it before, most effective one, but it helps to slow your heart rate down, which helps to bring your blood pressure down as well. It'll bring anxiety down, and you will almost immediately feel less stress. Now, will it make you feel less stress all day? No, you probably have to do that all day long, but it helps you learn how to cope with immediate stress that's happening, so you can bring the heart rate down and think a little more rationally, right? For some people, baths or coloring or I don't know, maybe you like puzzling or knitting, or I don't know what guys do for calmness. Maybe you work on tinker around on something that you like to. Whatever is a stress reducer for you, add it into your life. Make sure you make time for that. That is huge because it's something that you enjoy or something that brings you down a level, and you will feel so much better for that if you're making sure you have that in your life. Setting boundaries in your relationships, in your careers, and even within yourself. This is something a lot of people, I think, have trouble with. I think some people are like too good at it and they'll like cut everyone out of their life. And then there's other people who just like let everyone walk into their life and walk all over them. When you learn to start setting boundaries, and I highly recommend you start to set boundaries in like comfortable areas of your life first, like either A, people that you don't care about getting mad about you, or B, people you know will still love you even if you say no to them, right? Like there are some individuals you have that are pretty steady in your life. You can do that, or do it with someone you don't really know or don't care about. Start setting boundaries there and saying no. Say no. If it's not something you want to do, say no to it, right? If there's someone that is doing something that you feel strongly against, speak up about that. Speak up about it and don't worry about their reaction. Their reaction is their reaction. All you can do is control yourself and how you respond. But learning to set those boundaries, it'll empower you a little bit, and you'll feel a lot better in terms of stress and emotion control, right? And then, of course, always, I recommend this. I know this is a tricky area for some people, but seeking out therapy to help work through some of the things I've already talked about, but also past traumas. A lot of you have been through some really traumatic things in your life, and some of you have been through only minor traumatic things, but it is somehow dragged into your adulthood. You're bringing it with you. And myself, I have not been through like major trauma in my life. I will fully admit that. But there are things that happened when I was younger. I have learned I've pulled with me into my adulthood. And it looks a lot like seeking validation all of the time, or feeling like I am not worthy unless someone, I'm helping someone, things like that. There's things I've pulled into my adulthood from childhood. Like I have to be perfect in order to be recognized. These things can lead to a lot of problems with our eating, our relationship with food, our relationship with exercise, and even our mindset and our beliefs around ourselves. So if you can seek out therapy, find yourself a good therapist, and don't just like pick one and give up because you got one that really sucks. Find one that's good for you. I know it takes time. You can use something like BetterHelp is what I used for a while there, to just kind of find a better match for you. And if you do BetterHelp, there's other places too. You can actually request a switch if someone doesn't feel like the right vibe for you. That's okay. And there's like, it is what it is. I think they probably experience that often as therapists. And you want, just as much as you want them to be a good match for you, I'm sure they want to feel that it's a good match for them as well. So find yourself a good match and someone that you feel like really helps you work through some of these challenges, whether it's past challenges or current challenges too. So I'm a huge fan of it. It took me a little while to find someone that I felt like worked really well with me. But once I did, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just the world of a difference. And I felt so much better about myself in all areas, in myself, in my relationships, in my career, everything. So, highly recommend seeking out therapy. And men, you too, please don't let old beliefs about men having therapy making you weak. It doesn't make you weak. I'm not saying you have to go take medications or anything, but having someone that can talk to you as an outsider, they don't live in your mind, they're not friends or family members that have a bias towards you, they don't really know you that well. They can offer up some tools to help you work through some of the challenges, and you can troubleshoot. Some of them will work well, some of them won't, but you'll learn a lot about yourself in that process, and you'll find what works for you and what doesn't, and it is a beautiful outlet. So, but check with one BetterHelp. There's like discounted options you can choose, I think, as well. They have different levels of it you can do. Check with your work. Some works have some, not works, businesses, companies. Some companies offer therapy services. It might be some incentive that they have. Some insurance companies as well have that. So just check in with whatever you have available to you, to see what options, because I think if you were to just go seek someone out, it might be very expensive if you have the flexible income for that, go for it. If you don't, try to find other avenues that allow you to do it in a cost-friendly way. I'm going to just make sure there's no comments. So stress is so huge to work on, and it catches up to you even when you don't feel stressed. You got to do the work every day. Take time for yourself every single day, even if it's for 5 minutes. Yes, absolutely. Avoid the news. No, thank you. Yes, news actually, they live on the hype, right? That's where they get their viewership from. If they're more polarizing, more people watch. And so they're always going to be polarizing. It's not going to always be happy-go-lucky news. It's always going to have really negative and might have some positive, but it's stuff that's going to pull you in, right? Tanya said, take a color walk and focus on one specific color of the entire walk. It brings your stress down and mindfulness. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good tip. So on walks, something you can do, like she said, is focus on the colors, or a specific color, and just notice everything that's got that color around you. Or something that I've done is just try to recognize something new in the environment. That's what I've done. If I take the same walk almost every single day, not a whole lot changes, but sometimes you'll be like, I never noticed that before. So just try to recognize something new on the walk. That's a way to also practice mindfulness. But being present, it's huge. Okay, moving on. Other ways to set yourself up for success: working on sleep duration and sleep quality. And a lot of people like brush this to the side. So yes, you can still see progress if you aren't getting the greatest sleep. That's not to say that you can't ever see progress if you don't get great sleep or great sleep quality, but what does good sleep do for you? Good sleep helps you recover, one, from your workouts. It helps repair all tissues in the body. So anything that's been broken down is going to help with. It helps with regulating hormones. It helps with reducing stress and anxiety, right? It helps you cope a little better with those things. It helps with your hunger hormone regulation, especially. So if you're sleep deprived, usually leptin and ghrelin are all over the place. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone is increased, or leptin is suppressed, the one that tells you you're full, if you don't get enough sleep, right? And so you're going to feel hungry often. If you are sleep deprived multiple days in a row, your blood sugars are going to start to be dysregulated. And they've even said to the point where people become almost pre-diabetic because of just because of sleep deprivation, not because of what they're eating, because their blood sugars are having trouble regulating based on the poor quality of sleep they're getting, right? So working on that, really working on that. I'm not talking about like, I'll try. I'm talking about work on it. Put intention. Turn the TV off. I know the TV is your downtime. It's your relaxation time. But what if it's the thing that's holding you back? Like you've changed everything and you're like, man, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm just so tired and I'm so moody and I have a puffy face and I'm pretty sure my stress hormones are elevated. My appetite's all over the place. Like, what if it's just your poor, crappy sleep habits that is one of the things that's majorly holding you back? It could be that. So avoiding TV or screen time right before bed. Usually they say if you can 2 hours before bed is ideal. I know for you guys are probably like, heck no, that's like my relaxation time. All right, well then 30 minutes before bed. Cut that stuff off and get yourself a bedtime routine that involves you relaxing. This could be the time you use to de-stress, right? You can do some deep breathing or meditation or a bath, or maybe you're reading a not too exciting book, coloring or something that calms you and says, okay, I am getting ready to go to bed. So your body recognizes this new habit and it starts to get sleepy and gets you prepared for bed. Another thing, reducing caffeine intake or stopping the intake prior to 2 p.m. Some of y'all be drinking way too much caffeine. I was one of those individuals, like 600 plus milligrams a day. I'm pregnant now, so 200 milligrams is all I get, and it's early in the morning. And I definitely sleep. I don't want to say I sleep. So pregnancy does weird things to you, makes you not sleep so great. I do sleep better on average than I did while I was drinking so much caffeine. So there's definitely something to that. So I highly recommend reducing and or backing up the time that you have your last caffeine, because its half-life, I believe, is six hours. Is it 6 hours or 8 hours? I can't remember, but that's a long time. So if you have like 300 milligrams of caffeine in the afternoon, you got 150 milligrams still coursing through your veins 6 hours later. So many people have said, it doesn't matter how much caffeine I drink, I can still go to sleep. Okay, you might still be able to go to sleep, but what's happening to that quality of sleep while you are asleep? Your brain's still probably going, right? So some people think they're warriors and they can drink caffeine and sleep fine, but the odds are your actual quality is not so good. Same goes for alcohol. Some people are like, oh, I drink alcohol and I fall asleep like that. Yeah, you fall asleep really quick, but your sleep quality tanks. You're not going to hit that deep sleep. You're not going to get that REM sleep like you really need to. You're going to get a lot of light, restless sleep after drinking alcohol. That's just what happens. So that's why a lot of people wake up feeling lousy after drinking. Getting sunlight exposure on your face and skin early in the morning is another great way to kind of, this is more woo woo, but reset your circadian rhythm. I like to think of it as if you were living back in the day when we didn't have these houses and these structures we lived in caves. We'll say that. We lived out in the wild. You probably got up with the sun and went to bed with the sun, or very close after, right? The sunrise triggered your cortisol release, to wake up, and then bedtime when the sun was going down, melatonin started to get produced. A lot of people are inside all day long, and if they don't get out and get sunlight exposure, they probably have some dysregulated melatonin and cortisol. And so getting up, getting that sunlight, and then at night, reducing screen time and the lights that you have going on in your face at night will help you produce that melatonin and get you on a normal cycle. Okay. Getting movement throughout the day, another good one. Exercise is great, but even just general movement, your body, I promise you, it craves movement. You might feel exhausted, but it might actually be craving a little bit more movement so that you can get good sleep and that positive cycle happens, right? Getting more movement definitely improves quality of sleep. There's a lot of other things. I don't want to bore you with every detail of how to get better sleep. If you want more, you can ask me, but that's some basics. Okay. Again, increasing overall movement. Again, not just exercise, just move more throughout the day. Taking walk breaks, dance breaks. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how you get your movement in. Just move more. Move with your hands, tap your feet, whatever you got to do. But just getting up and learning to embrace some movement and stretch throughout the day. It is huge for your metabolism, right? That's going to be gigantic for your actual metabolism, improving and burning more calories throughout the day. So I like to say aim for a goal of 8,000 plus steps a day. The 10,000 steps is not necessary for every single day. It's a great push. If you're someone who's really trying to lose some weight, I promise you, if you start to hit the 10,000 range and up and you've not ever even gotten close to that, you'll probably start seeing more progress, especially if you've plateaued and you're hitting lower steps. Just getting extra movement in. It doesn't even have to be exercise, like intentional exercise. Just movement throughout the day makes a huge difference. So adding that in, big success for a long term. Because if you live a active lifestyle, I promise you're going to keep that weight off. Strength training. You probably knew this was coming if you know me and our company, SCF Fitness and Tanya. We talk about strength training. There's nothing wrong with cardio. Cardio has its purpose. It's to improve your cardiovascular health. Sure, it burns calories in the moment. It doesn't really burn calories afterwards, though. So, it's only a temporary calorie burner. So many people are so worried about calorie burn. Look at the benefit of the exercise you're doing. Cardio is to help cardiovascular health. You want that. That is important, right? In your endurance. Strength training is going to help your overall functionality in your life. Okay. It helps you function. It helps your metabolism. It helps your blood sugar control. It supports it supports your body. It gives you shape to your body. You want to strength train. You want to add strength training. You don't have to go be a bodybuilder. You don't have to go be a power lifter. I'm not saying you have to do any of those things, but putting muscle mass on your body is so important, right? In weight loss injections and weight loss surgeries, you are going to lose muscle mass. We talked about this already. It is going to happen, especially if you have a rapid weight loss. The weight you're losing is not just fat, it's a ton of muscle as well. And your muscle, just think of muscle as your metabolism. Muscle tissue on your body is a huge driver in your overall metabolism. The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism is going to be. That's just a fact. The more mass you have, the higher your metabolism is going to be, even including fat. If you have more fat on your body and more muscle, your metabolism is actually probably relatively higher. You just don't understand how many calories are coming in. That's the challenge, right? The more muscle you lose, the less flexibility you have with extra calories, and you risk rapid weight gain. Think of your muscle as like a reserve tank. You have extra calories coming in, your muscle will hold those extra calories in reserve and use them as it's burning throughout the day. Or if you go into a workout, it's going to use those extra calories. But if you don't have as much muscle and you go over the reserves that you currently have, say you have an extra piece of cake, or you go on a vacation and you have extra calories, and you usually rely on cardio to get your calorie burn in, but you don't do cardio on vacation, you will see weight gain on vacation. 1,000%. Same with weight loss surgeries. If you're only doing cardio, but you overconsume calories, if you don't have those reserve tanks to do something with those extra calories, you're probably going to gain the weight back pretty quickly. But if you have the reserve tanks and it says, I know what to do with this because I need this to function, it's going to use those calories, and you're going to either put on no weight or gain way less weight, right? If you have those days here and there where you eat extra. Makes for a much more flexible diet, okay? Muscle keeps our bones dense and healthy. Not enough muscle means weak bones and risk for fracture. So osteoporosis, osteopenia is a real problem, especially for us women. Us women, especially as we hit 35 up, for some people sooner, we start to have different hormone changes, start entering perimenopause. And what's happening is our estrogen, progesterone, they're kind of dipping. They're not doing what they used to do in our cycles. Cortisol slowly inching up and becoming a more dominant hormone. And we are going to lose muscle mass as we age if we don't challenge it. And muscle is what keeps our bones, the muscle on our bones, the stress of the muscle pulling on our bones is what keeps them strong on top of other things. And if we don't have enough of that, our bones are going to become weak, right? So we want to make sure that we're strengthening our muscle to keep our bones healthy, so we don't have a broken hip at 50 something years old, or we don't have frail, fragile little bones. You know what I mean? Like, this is something we see often. A lot of women end up with osteoporosis in their life, and you absolutely can prevent that. So putting some muscle on your body will help with that. And then muscle mass, of course, means you can function. And I think this is a thing a lot of people don't think about. Like, I don't know how many of you just get that urge to be like, I'm rearranging my whole house right now, and I'm not waiting for my significant other to come help me. I'm doing it now. Like, I just have to do it now. But then you hurt yourself because you tried to push this massive piece of furniture that was heavy and you tweaked your back. Yeah, you probably didn't have the muscle mass or mobility or flexibility to do that movement. You don't normally do it, right? And so you're higher risk for injury. Playing with kids. Sometimes you can do things playing with kids like the smallest movement, or step off of a curb and you all of a sudden threw your back out, right? Or you injure yourself. Getting on and off the toilet or the couch. So many people tell us they can't squat. And I'm like, what do you do every day when you go to the bathroom? What do you do when you go to watch TV? I bet you be sitting yourself on the toilet or a couch. That's a squat. So better to learn to be able to do that with some weight added to you, so you're very strong in that movement and you very much do not risk injury, and it's not so difficult. Getting something off a shelf above you or onto a shelf without, messing up your shoulder and tearing your rotator cuff. So many people very much underestimate adding strength training into your life improves the quality of your life, reduces your risk of injury and visits to the doctor. Now, granted, can training very heavy and crazy increase risk of injury if you don't do it safely? Of course, anything can increase risk of injury. But if you do it safely and you don't go wild with it, I guarantee your quality of life will improve greatly over what would happen if you didn't do that strength training. I'm gonna look at comments again. Sorry. You squat all day. That's so true. You do. Literally squat all day. So many people are like, I can't do squats. My doctor told me not to. And I'm like, how do you go to the bathroom? Literally, how do you, well, if you're pooping, men, how do you go to the bathroom? Women peeing, pooping, how do you go to the bathroom? Right? How do you sit down to eat your meals? How do you sit on the couch or how do you sit down to watch TV? You're squatting. So, anyways, we want to improve our overall function. We need to add some muscle tissue to our body. When you're having these medications, the weight loss injections, and you're having these surgeries, you're losing muscle. So you want to support your muscle by strength training during the use of the medication and after. I'm not talking about wait till after you lose all your muscle. Try to maintain as much muscle as possible because it's very hard to build muscle, especially in a calorie deficit, which you will be in a long term if you're taking the meds or have surgery. You will forever be in a low calorie threshold. Okay. And there's only so much growth that can happen to muscles if you are eating that low in calories. It's very difficult to build muscle at a low calorie threshold. That's just all I'm going to say. If you can try to maintain it as much as possible in the process of calorie deficit, which is a little easier than building muscle, do it. Absolutely do it. To add to that, eat yourself. Eat to support muscle and hormone health. So what do I mean by that? In order to keep muscle on your body, you have to eat protein. That's literally the only thing that's going to keep the muscle on your body. Your body needs amino acids, which are in proteins, in order to maintain and build muscle tissue. Like that is a requirement for you to build muscle. So many people are like, I'm going to eat only plants and leaves and I'm going to be fine. But there's very minimal protein in that. So you're probably going to also waste your muscle tissue. It's just going to go away. You need protein in your life. It can be from animal sources. It can be from vegan sources. I don't care. But you more than ever now need to prioritize your protein so you don't end up with that major muscle wasting. A protein also has responsibility in your healthy skin, hair, nails, collagen. Have you guys ever heard of collagen? If you aren't getting enough of that, you may also see some challenges with your skin, your nails, your hair. To add to that, fruits, veggies, and healthy fats. Okay. I say healthy because I don't love terming healthy fats, but I think most people understand what that means. It just means not like cakes and cookies and things. It means things like nuts and avocados and cheeses. And some people can't eat cheeses, but even butter is okay to use. Okay, even butter, even some oils are okay to use, but you want to avoid like the highly processed vegetable oils, those kinds of things, right? Healthy fats are okay, and they're actually required to ensure that our hormones are happy. And fruits and veggies are required for digestive health, right? As well as nutrients. I mean, you guys want healthy nutrients to keep your body happy and to keep hormones functioning. Otherwise, you're going to start to feel it, right? If your fats are too low, if you're not getting the nutrients you need to, your hormones are going to downregulate, your bodily functions are going to slow down, and nutritional deficiencies are going to happen. They're very, very common with weight loss, especially weight loss surgeries, but also weight loss injections. If you aren't getting the nutrients you need day to day, you're going to start feeling it, right? You're going to start noticing it in your hair loss. That's such a common one. And so many people are like, oh, that's normal. No. It's an expected side effect, but that's not normal. If you're losing a bunch of hair, absolutely not normal because of your diet. That means you have a deficiency. Your body is sending you a red flag of, I'm not getting enough to maintain this hair growth. So we're going to slow down and we're going to produce less hair. Right? It's not like a vital function. I don't need that to survive. What I do need is my heart to beat and my brain to work a little bit. My kidneys need to function. So we're going to just slow down the things that aren't super important. And we're going to make sure the other things continue to run. That's what your body's doing. It's sending you red flags. And people are like, oh, that's normal. That's a normal side effect. It's an expected side effect, not normal. And you can prevent that by making sure that you prioritize your protein, prioritize fruits and veggies, and healthy fats for hormones. Okay. Making sure you have those things first and foremost. I think a lot of people go into weight loss injections and think they can just continue to eat what they want because now they're just eating less. They don't have as much of an appetite. You will feel the effects of not eating the things that you should prioritize. Eventually, you're going to notice it in your physical, in your emotional, in your mental. Because if you don't get the things you need to, you're going to start to get brain fog as well. It'll make motivation towards like actually doing the things that are going to help you be successful very difficult. Because if you don't have the energy, you don't have the mental capacity to think about the habit you're trying to change, you're probably going to go back to what is autopilot, which is all of those old things you didn't deal with in your past that you've pulled with you, right? So it comes full circle. We have to make sure we're prioritizing many things in order to be successful in the long term. But again, these are things you can change slowly over time. Um, this is just a reminder for both of the modalities, weight loss medications and surgeries. Your metabolism is going to slow down no matter what method you use. It's forcing you into a calorie deficit. When you eat at a certain calorie threshold, your metabolism tries to meet that demand. So let's say you eat 2,500 calories a day for, X amount of days, which is a lot for some people, right? Well, if you are someone that is maybe more petite, your metabolism is going to try to get to that point, and then it's not going to be able to reach that point, and you'll start putting on weight, right? Because you're just your frame is more petite. You'll start putting on weight because you just weren't anywhere near that threshold. But as you gain weight, you might actually eventually meet up to that metabolism because you've put more mass on your body. There's a point where that starts to become necrotic tissue and things don't work very well, but your body will eventually kind of start speeding up, right? If you drop your calories, your body is going to adapt to it. This is what our bodies are designed to do, to survive. And so the metabolism will adjust and adapt based off the demands we put on it. We drop our calories. Let's say we drop them down to 1,800 calories. You're someone who was eating 25, you drop it down to 1,800. You'll see like over a pound loss, a pound and a half loss a week, probably doing that, right? And you'll see that progress, and it'll stop because all of a sudden your metabolism has now come down to 1,800 calories. It's like, okay, well, this is the new demand. We can function here. Okay. We can function okay here, but we plateau. And maybe you're someone that's not happy with the progress you've reached. So you drop your calories lower. Maybe now you're taking medications or you do the surgery and it's pushed you in, let's just say 1,100 calorie diet. Your metabolism is going to over time meet with that number. And the more drastic the drop, the faster it is going to happen, the faster you will plateau. Your body is super adaptable. Okay. When you reach that 1,100 calorie threshold, now what happens? You probably don't feel great because most people need more than that to just have basic survival, right? Basic functioning of their organs. And so this is where a lot of people will lose hair. Maybe their skin's really thin or their nails are brittle. Maybe they find that they have brain fog or they lack motivation. Maybe their doctor's telling them they have hypothyroidism now. Maybe they're a little infertile if there's someone who's trying to have children. There's a lot of things that might start to happen over time. And it's because you've given your body 1,100 calories to lose weight, which this is what a lot of people do. But your body's met that threshold and it's trying to survive with that amount of calories. And so maybe then you start to have some cravings, or you just feel low energy, and your previous behaviors were, well, when I feel low energy, I have a snack, or I have cravings for cookies or something, right? This is what happens to a lot of people. They give into that craving or they have that thing, and there's nothing wrong with having that thing, but it starts to become a habit again. And now on average, they're consuming more calories than 1,100 calories. And depending on how big those threshold, going over that threshold is, they're consuming extra. So what's going to happen is they're going to put on weight in that process. Unless they're being very strategic with what they're doing in their training, they're going to put weight on. And this is why a lot of people see rapid weight gain after weight loss surgeries or weight loss medications or even extreme dieting. They brought their metabolism way low here, and then old habits came back and they consumed over calories. And maybe it was just a day or two at first, but it started to become more habitual overconsumption. And the weight just comes right back on very quickly because it doesn't take a lot to go over 1,100 calories in order to overconsume. You'll be like, well, I used to eat way more than this and I didn't gain weight like this. Yeah, but your metabolism wasn't 1,100 calories before. It was much higher. And so when you ate, a little bit more than that, 800 calories or 2,000 calories, it didn't make a big difference. But 1,100 calories to maybe you ate 2,000 calories in a day, that's 900 calories extra in one day. You do that over a few days, you're going to gain a pound really quickly, right? So a lot of people just, I think, don't understand the mechanism of what the metabolism does. You can improve your metabolism over time, but it's going to be much slower with surgery, especially with surgery. And or if you're staying on the weight loss medication, because of course it's suppressing your appetite, right? With surgery, there's only so much room the stomach can expand. Some people are able to get it to expand a bit more, and they're able to bring their calories back up over time a little bit, bring their metabolism back up, but it's probably always going to be at a much lower threshold than it would have been without the surgery. And what I found working with people who have had these surgeries in the past is often when they get closer to that higher threshold that they can tolerate, they feel a lot better, right? Because now their body's working with more energy coming in, hormones are picking back up, and they just overall feel like they have more energy, less brain fog, function a little bit better. Maybe they're even seeing more progress in the gym because they now have extra calories to put muscle mass on. Okay. Staying on weight loss meds again, it's just going to suppress your appetite. So if you come off those medications, it will make this improvement a lot easier. So improving your metabolism, again, it requires strategic gradual increases in your calories. We're not talking like 500 bumps at a time, 500 calorie bump at a time, alongside of putting muscle tissue on the body to prevent the major swings in weight, right? Because we're adding muscle on slowly and strategically with the extra calories because the muscle wants the calories to grow. You build muscle tissue, it can tolerate more calories, and you slowly increase. And over time, your metabolism also follows suit. And you are now able to, again, eat at a normal threshold. You can go out to eat and have a meal that is not, going to throw you into a tizzy and gain a bunch of weight. It's huge in long-term success. I'm sure most of you got to where you are not because you want to live on a diet that's like bird food for the rest of your life. I'm sure most of you like to go enjoy a time out to eat, or you like to have a little indulgence here and there, right? And that's okay to do those things. But again, we have to make sure we're doing it strategically. We have to make sure we're working on why we're indulging in those things and how we're indulging on them. Because if we don't work on the mental and the mindset, it's going to become a big problem, right? It's going to keep resurfacing in our life, and we will way overindulge, right? So again, why should you care about this? Number one reason, for your overall body's hormone health and functioning. And number two, so you can have days where you eat a little more than usual and not gain weight. I kind of already said that. I said that without saying that, but I like to have these just in case I get on a tangent. All right, so to recap, identity, mental health, mindset, and behavior shifts are imperative to your long-term success, even more so than your nutrition and exercise. Like if you don't work on those things, I promise you, it is going to be a challenge for the rest of your life. So rather than avoid that really uncomfortable hard work, lean in on it. Just embrace it, run headfirst into it, do the dirty work and work on that mindset, work on your mental health, work on your identity of who you are, work on your behaviors, and you will find that the rest comes so much easier when you work on that. But you have to work on those things first. Those things have to be dealt with. You can only put them away in a box for so long before they come out and scare you again. Like I promise you, it has to happen. So coping skills around stress and emotional regulation, it's going to significantly reduce the resurfacing of the old habits and make this, again, process easier. And then, of course, the sleep, the nutrition, the movement, and exercise lifestyle changes will support a fully functioning and healthy, happy you. You need those pieces to the puzzle too, but the other stuff up top is probably the thing that's holding most people back. So I highly recommend working on those things. It's going to shift how you feel about food. It's going to shift how you feel about exercise and movement. It's going to change everything for you. But that other stuff, it has to change. The mental has to change. So I'm going to double check comments. Have a good walk, Tanya. Tanya shared another video. If you guys are on Facebook, Tanya shared a lot of videos in the comments if you want to go check them out. And if you're not on Facebook, I'm sorry. Okay, any other questions? I think that's all I had. That's a basic rundown. I didn't go crazy in depth because most people, they will lose their mind if you go too much into the science, which I like the science of things, but most people are not nerdy like me. So I don't try to bore you with all of that. But just some realistic measures. Like you guys, I think what I put out there today wasn't too in depth. It was the right amount. But if you have any questions, concerns, let me know. You can always also post the questions in the comments and I'll read them later on and I'll address them as well. But I hope this was helpful. I know this is something that's not going away, so I really wanted to talk about it. I personally believe every single person can do this without these weight loss modalities, but I also understand I have a very close friend who had weight loss surgery, and I tried my darndest to prevent her from doing it. I tried to help her as much as I could, but when it came down to it, she didn't believe in herself. She felt the only way out was to have this surgery. And, after all was said and done, she's lost over 100 pounds. She feels great and successful in that journey. But she has told me, you know what? Like everything you taught me, though, was true. It was right. I had to change everything in my life in order for this to be successful. And she goes, I'm a different person than I was then. She goes, I just didn't quite understand it then. I couldn't see myself getting to that point then. And this is where I think the medications can be really helpful too, because sometimes it is like the motivator for people, so long as they understand that motivation will drop off and they have to do this change lifestyle change long term. I think it can be super beneficial for some people. But she, like she had said, she was so deep in her pit of despair and believing that she couldn't do it any other way. It was her, she felt trapped, like it was her only way out, that was why she ended up choosing going that route. But now that she has gone that route, she literally does all of the things that everything I talk about. She is very like very, very all about protein. She's all about protein and getting her nutrients in and getting her sleep in and making sure she does self-care and stress control, setting boundaries, working on the mental health part of it, like huge life changes. It just took a very dramatic decision for her to get to that point. So I do believe everybody can get there without using them. But again, I understand some people feel so trapped in their own body that they feel this is the only way out. It's not. I promise you got this, you got this. But I empathize, and I am just here to support anyone who wants to do this in the long term. So anyways, if you have any other questions, make sure you drop them in the comments and I will address them. April said, be nerdy. Yeah, I'm like super nerdy with some of this stuff. Like I will go like way too deep into it and I lose people. I can tell that I lose people when I start talking. And I'm like, all right, maybe I should dial this back a little bit, take it down a notch because I get too excited. So, all right, guys, I'm going to hop off. Thanks for joining me. This was fun. I haven't done a live like this with an official presentation in quite some time. So it felt good to do that. I would like to do this more. I always say that. But my routine is settling down here in a little bit. So I will be able to do this more. And I'm excited. And if you guys have any topics too that you would like to have covered, I'm all ears. Send them my way. Give me a challenge. Give me a task. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a good night.